Welcome everybody to Service Drive Revolution. I am Chris Collins and this is Christian Lafferty.
Hello everyone.
Better known as Papi Chulo. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. You heard our little intro with some jingle bells in there for you. Kind of fun once a year to be able to play that.
Yeah, that's clearly Michael's favorite intro. It's very festive, quite ringy.
Now, we have a great show coming up for you today. I'm going to talk about something very emotional, about something that made me really want to cry recently. And I will tell everybody that I'm not the kind of person that cries easy. In fact, the last time I cried was when my dog Rocky died. But when my grandfather died, I wanted to cry. Like I tried to cry and I couldn't cry. I have friends that cry pretty easy, but I don't cry. This made me want to cry. So we're going to talk about that. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about some housekeeping stuff and things going on. But with our coaching clients, which if you are looking to make 2022 a better year and have your fixed ops humming along and be a part of a network and a family that's doing some pretty progressive things on the service side, we have a couple slots left. We are starting to turn people away in the sense that we do not have the capacity to take everybody on as clients for the coaching side. The on-demand and the online stuff is wide open because that's, more scalable and doesn't require the attention that coaching does. But on our coaching calls, a few last week and a couple here coming up next week, we do this thing with our clients where we have an ugly sweater contest and the winner gets a bottle of kind of hand-selected limited edition tequila.
Yeah, very fancy.
It is very fancy. In fact, I don't even have a bottle of that tequila we're giving away. So every time we give it away, I'm like, man, I'd really like that.
Just take one.
But so far, nobody's had an uglier sweater than Christian. So if you're listening to this, I apologize, but you should go to YouTube and just look at Christian's sweater when you get a minute. Just fast forward to the first couple minutes and you'll see Christian's sweater. But I asked you if that was a raccoon. And it's, believe it or not, everybody, that's a sloth.
It's the Christmas sloth.
Christmas sloth. Yeah, it's incredible. Even better is the material it's made out of. It's made out of like silky, how would you describe that material, Christian?
Chinese spandex.
Chinese spandex, yeah. It's incredible. It's a sight. It's a sight to behold. So, we hope everybody's having a great holiday season and, reflecting back on this year. When you think, Christian, about last year, are there any episodes of SDR that really stick out to you, or moments that you remember, good or bad?
I have two. The one would be the amount of energy that came out of the diagnosis episode, and in terms of feedback,
the repair authorization.
Yes, and the other one that I got the most feedback from, and I felt like we really gave away some good content, was like our 11 steps to hiring coaches. I got a lot of people say that, I never would have thought to ask that question, and I've gotten some feedback from our clients that they're actually getting better at interviewing, which I do think that there's a little bit of a gap. Like we don't teach, at least in the automotive industry, I don't think we do a good enough job of teaching people how to interview and like what we should be looking for when we're doing it. I thought those were two of my favorite episodes of the last year.
So I have gotten some feedback from that, just talking to people randomly on strategy sessions or, people DMing me on Instagram. And the thing that's funny about the repair authorization one is that a couple people, surprisingly, they're not on our platform, right? They're like, wow, that was really good. Like they're surprised. And I think we have said from the very beginning that our goal is that we're going to give away better content than most people charge for. But the truth of the matter is most advisor training out there that I've seen or we've come in behind in a service drive. And I think coming in behind in a service drive is probably more insightful than what I've seen. I purposely won't watch a lot of other people's training because I never want to steal their stuff, and subconsciously that could happen. But when I have seen stuff, I'm really just blown away that that's what we're teaching and that we're giving people scripts. It's like, the idea that I give somebody a script and they're going to read that and that's going to help them is, crazy. A script might inspire you and give you a little bit of a roadmap, but it's not going to make you a better service advisor. We got to fix the mental aspect of it first, right?
There's a lot of make it your own. It's got to be genuine.
And then on the other side of it, the team in the office was showing me that people that we talked about in that one, because it was from a post, a thread of comments that inspired us to talk about it, the repair authorization part, that people in there were saying that, I'll never share your stuff again, or I'll never tell other people about you, you're a terrible person, whatever. And I guess it's because we mentioned their names, not the point we made.
Probably.
That we mentioned their names. And I think that's funny too. Like, if you were going to hurt us, telling us that you're not going to share our free stuff doesn't really hurt us.
No, we're okay.
One guy's like, I'm in charge of 7 dealerships and I'm not going to, watch your free videos anymore. It's like, okay, well, we're giving you, who else out there is giving the content, or who else out there is actually as authentic and in the service drive and knows what they're talking about? Like,
yeah, we'll be okay.
Good luck with that. Yeah. But I thought that was funny. I also think it's funny the people that posted comments that were negative because of the headline, but they never actually watched the video. I would say most of the negative comments, they never watched it, so they were commenting on the headline, not the actual content of the video.
Which was the same thing that was happening with the link, with the article in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So the whole reason it went sideways is because I think people were commenting without reading or listening, and then the same thing happened on the videos, and I was like, oh my good Lord, like we're committing the same sins. We're not getting better.
One of my favorite parts of last year is we kind of, was it like midway through the year, we're like, we need to shift things up a little bit. We need to have some guests. And so we started trying to have guests.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
And one of the rules that I had when we started having guests is we're not going to pitch anything to our audience. They actually have to provide content and value to our audience. So if they work at a company or they have a product, maybe we will plug the product at the end. And I always say, like, let me plug your product. Don't you do it. Give our clients some content, like actually give them some knowledge and some content. That honestly turned out to be more of a toss of the coin, because most people just, if they're selling, and they don't understand the idea of give to get.
Yeah. Like
putting your best foot forward. But there were a couple people that came on, they pitched the whole time, and then we didn't put the episodes out. And then the really nice, sweet people in our office then said, well, could we give them another chance? They're so sorry, blah, 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 blah. And then we did it again. So do you remember me saying, like, it's not going to make a difference. There's no value here for our clients. And even to the point with one of the guests, like, I literally was trying to give the value for them. Like, I was trying to, right? Like, I was giving the value, making it into like an episode that we would do, just trying to bring them along, and they still wouldn't go along with it. They were fighting me, right?
That was great. I didn't even realize one of them you did twice, because one was with me the first time around, and then you redid it with the same person with Mia. And I thought you were talking about the same episode when you're like, yeah, all he did was pitch his thing. Come to find out, it was a second episode that had the same story. It was
well,
really
I did it
impressive.
because the office was asking, like, please, he's really sorry, really, and it didn't make a difference. And so that's something we struggle with, is getting guests that actually like can talk about content, not in relation to the only way that it'll work is if you buy my stuff. And most of the vendors out there that are the most progressive are the ones selling tablets or software. And I mean, it's not that stuff isn't good, but you're not going to fix your service drive with tablets. I hate to tell everybody. So
it's just another thing to do. You know what I did like? One of my favorite guests was Raleigh, the guy that does like the military placement.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was
great.
That was one of those episodes where I just sat there and I just got to watch, and it was such great content. I think that if for future guests on SDR, watch that episode first, you will be an amazing guest.
Also, the two from Reuters on the chips.
Yep, that was a great episode too.
They were great. I'm sure we're forgetting some, but it was great. So we thank you so much for supporting the show and the conversations that we're having. We're gonna try to have more listeners on as guests or more managers in our system, and talk more about what's really working and what isn't versus pitching products. The worst is somebody just pitching their stuff. That's not why you're here, and you have to listen to our stupid stories enough that on top of it, somebody pitching is.
Yeah, we really just want to give back. We want it to be a gift, which kind of reminds me, what is the best Christmas gift?
What is the best Christmas gift? Now, are you asking this because you want to know what to get me?
No, I already got.
This is a Christian dad joke.
Yeah.
What is the best Christmas joke? I don't know.
A broken drum. It can't be beat.
Christian did a thing, you guys, earlier in pre-production where he was telling a joke to everybody, and Michael, I think, didn't laugh or whatever, and then Christian said, "You're not my audience right now." It wasn't that the joke wasn't funny. It was now Christian's turned it on us that if we don't laugh, we're not the audience.
It's your fault if you don't get it.
I thought that was so funny. Well, you're not the audience right now. Oh, that made me laugh so hard. The other thing, if you haven't seen it on YouTube, I do believe it's on Facebook and LinkedIn, but I would not know how to navigate those two. People would be surprised how little time I spend on either one of those sites. But I am on YouTube all the time, and it's from our Top Dog event this year, and it's titled The State of the Union. It's one of our fastest videos on YouTube.
The views are unbelievable.
For views, but it was the top of our Top Dog event, which still to this day, people tell me, like, I don't know that I go through a week where a couple people don't tell me that was the best event they've ever been to, and just how real and emotional and honest it was. But the top of that, I talk about our industry. And it was, when I was writing it and thinking about what I wanted to say, I was thinking like this is the state of the union in reference to us and fixed ops. This is where we're at in the automotive industry. And so if you haven't seen that, check it out. It also shows the winner of the Jeep at Top Dog, Amanda, and it's a cool video from the heart. And we dolled it up a little bit after the fact that we actually put in some pictures of my grandfather, and there's actually a picture of myself with my grandfather in his Toyota Land Cruiser. Man, he loved that thing. I regret not grabbing that when he passed away and having it restored. But the video is really relevant to where we're at, and you would enjoy it. So make sure you check that out on YouTube. Just search Chris Collins State of the Union, and it'll come up.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal video. I think that it was a a really heartfelt message, and I actually think the production team did really well on that thing. Like, it literally was like it was a movie trailer. Like, there was that kind of quality of shooting, and like as you're watching it, you have no choice but to get sucked into the information. The story is really, really good, but you get really introspective after watching it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, the team did a great job too. In the shooting of it, the editing, the music they put behind it, and I think it represents where we're at, and it will resonate with you. I know it's kind of going around and people are sharing it because you can just see that it's getting a lot of views and a lot of shares.
It's a good message.
Fun stuff. Okay, so maybe we should end with the premise or the conversation of what do we think is going to change next year a little bit.
Okay.
Talk about next year, but let's talk about what made me want to cry.
This is a really random thing.
Yeah. No, but it was interesting too, because I was talking to Missy about this even last night, because she has, when people from the outside of our industry interact with our industry directly, but don't quite they didn't grow up in it and they don't understand it, right? They're only interacting because of us.
Yeah.
Because they're our spouses or that sort of thing. It's interesting to her how simple it would be to fix, but how in our industry it's not. So when we decided to do the contest for Service Manager of the Year, and I was going to give away my vehicle or whatever, years ago I bought a Jeep truck, if you're not familiar, and we had a contest. The contest was going to run a year. That was it, and whoever was in our on-demand or our coaching program that had the largest increase in profitability, the main one, although they're weighted the same, the main goal is profitability, effective labor rate, and customer satisfaction measurable, plus an essay. Just like, when people come into our coaching program, there's always a leap of faith, and those essays for us become great inspiration to new people coming in, that they understand that it's not unique to feel different. It's not unique to be scared of change, that there were other managers that were just like you, that thought just like you, that ended up achieving incredible results, improving their quality of life, having the freedom to run their business, not be victims of their business. And, and some of them are early on were funnier maybe, where like years ago, Matt's essay talked about, this guy from California. And I think that happens a lot too, that a lot of our clients come from the East Coast or the Midwest, and it's their first time coming to California, or they've been to California, but it's not on their list of places they would want to go. And especially now politically, it seems like California is like this, this wasteland to a lot of the country and the way they talk about it or think about it. So they come to California for their boot camp, and they realize that it's, not as scary as they think. And then once they learn what they learn, they're weaponized, and then they start to feel like, oh, wow, okay, I can do this. This makes sense. And, they're just weaponized, and then they go to work. A lot of times when they come to boot camp, they can't wait to get back and start doing things, because it all starts to make sense and line up, and they feel like, oh, okay, I know where the levers are now. I know where the light switches are to turn on, and I was in the dark before, basically, in a lot of ways. A lot of managers and fixed ops have learned everything they've learned through tribal knowledge, but they feel like they're in the dark. So those essays become, inspiration to everybody. And so what happened was, when we were doing that, COVID started popping up, and then all of a sudden we don't know what to do because our top dog event isn't going to go down. And then we're like, we were talking to our lawyers that kind of oversee that contest, and they were saying, well, you kind of have to pull it back because different parts of the country are shut down and it's not really fair, right? Like, also people in Canada were competing for it too, and they were shut down, more than the US. And so you just, even though service departments were open for the most part, there were a lot of service departments that laid people off. They panicked. And so it wasn't fair to continue the contest, so we had to kind of put it on hold and then bring it back. So I ended up driving this Jeep, which I fell in love with. By the way, I never had one problem with that Jeep. The only thing that ever happened was we changed the oil on it. That's it. I mean, I didn't put a ton of miles on it, but I never had one issue with it. It was an incredible, fun to drive, and also here in California for me, I just, the thing looked like a monster truck because we jacked it up. We'd done did a vinyl wrap in orange, and pulling up to valet or whatever here. It's just fun because it's so different than what people would do in LA. And I'm usually never looking to be the average person, so I like shocking people. But Top Dog finally did come around. We got tons of people that applied to win it, wrote their essays, turned in their numbers. And at Top Dog, we there was a clear winner, and I gave it away. So this was, the day that we gave it away at Top Dog, I drove it there. I was still driving it. And so since Top Dog, months ago, I haven't had a vehicle. And I was in Europe for a couple weeks, and I've been Ubering and borrowing my fiance's car sometimes. And, but I really haven't had a car, and I needed to get a car. So when I got back from my last trip, I'm like, I need to get a car. And I started looking around, and I didn't, the other problem, I think why I took so long to actually decide to buy something was that I didn't know what I wanted.
Sure.
And so do I want to get a convertible again because I like convertibles because I can smoke cigars and they're more fun, but I didn't know what to do, honestly. I mean, I asked you a lot. I would ask you what your opinion was and that sort of thing, right? And so finally I decided kind of what I thought I wanted. That was an SUV because I'm bigger, and something smooth. But I didn't want something that was gonna be a sport and hit all the potholes and all that. And so I decided on a Land Rover. I decided, hey, I think I want to get a Land Rover. So I started looking online. Now, we have clients that sell Land Rovers, but none here in LA. And the bigger ones here in LA are owned by a publicly traded auto group that, how should we say this? Their group believes that they're a nation for autos.
This is great.
How would you disguise that name? Nation for, they're their own nation
and
of
autos.
Of autos.
Yep.
Yeah. So they own the kind of the bigger ones. And then I was looking online. Now here's a funny thing is when you're in our industry, but you become the consumer and you're not asking any of your clients for a favor. And I felt like two things. I felt like the clients that we have that sell Rovers, I didn't want to ask them because their inventories are low and hard to find, right? And also shipping it and all that. I didn't want to bother them, and it wasn't, I also feel like they'd feel obligated to then give me a deal, and I would feel bad about that in the climate right now.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
So, I don't know. I was torn about that one too. But I go and I look at the reviews of the different dealerships here in Los Angeles. And I don't think there's one Land Rover dealership here in Los Angeles that has more than a 2-star on Google. They're not very good.
The bar is low.
The bar is low. And so I was like, man, Also, I see the numbers for our clients that have Land Rover, and the hours per hour are pretty high.
Very high.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we know they break,
They
right? So now I'm going to buy something that I don't have a connection to a dealership that probably is going to need a lot of service.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself is scary.
It's a future episode for sure.
Yeah, so most of the reviews are about service. Most, but
Okay.
2 dealerships, the one closest to here in LA and the one on the beach. We won't say the name, but it's the pier out by the ocean, the 3rd Street Promenade. It has a girl's name. I think her name's Monica.
Yeah, and then
She's a saint, but Monica.
right, and then like it's Spanish for saint
Yeah.
or festive wise.
Yeah. So those 2 dealerships clearly in the reviews on Google are charging over sticker. And I believe it's like $25,000 over sticker currently. And people are letting you know on the Google reviews like,
Be prepared.
it's a joke, blah, 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 blah. Now I go to the website and for the one that's owned by the Nation of Autos. So they have 2, and none of the reviews say that. And on their website, you can pull the price. So those other websites do a thing. It's like call for price or whatever.
Yep.
But these guys, even if it said call for price, the sticker and the price was in the vehicle or whatever. So I start doing all this research and watching videos and doing all this stuff, and I start kind of getting excited about it. And so I'm like, okay, I should go drive it, right? So I should go drive it. So I go to the one over the hill in the valley. I make an appointment. I'd emailed 2 dealerships, and I make an appointment. I go, and this dealership is like on a postage stamp with cars parked. I mean, it just looks like chaos, complete chaos. But they have tons of new inventory. But as much as they can stack on that little postage stamp,
It's
like
there.
they have it, right? So I go in and I ask for the kid I'd been emailing with, right? And nice kid. We test drive one, and my fiance is with me now. Should we talk right now about her Tesla first? Should we set that up?
Segue that into that, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, let's just go back in time a little bit. So I don't know, is it 4 or 5 months ago now? She bought a Tesla. And I would say that Christian had a lot of influence in that purchase because he loves his Tesla.
I do.
And the experience he's had with his Tesla.
Also, never a problem with that one either. 2 years, and I've never had a problem with that car.
Let's just really quick, because this is what makes me want to cry. Is when she bought her Tesla, let me tell you what buying a Tesla is like. And this was her comment yesterday. She goes, "Why doesn't anybody want to talk about this?" And I'm like, yeah, like whenever I'm on these panels I get invited to or whatever, you know, we go back, I've said it a couple times on the show, NADA told me not to talk about Tesla because it's not a popular subject with the dealer body, right? But what did I say back then? I said it's not the loss of new auto sales every year that's going to hurt the auto business. It's the market share that the electric car companies like Tesla they're going to take in addition to the loss of new car sales. So if we went as a country, we went from 18 million new cars to now we're somewhere around 14. Who knows what it'll end up being this year, but that's more inventory issues. But still, you know, it's the market share that Tesla is taking, right? Because in a lot of categories, they can't make them, you know, as fast as the demand needs them. So the experience that nobody wants to talk about is this. You go on a website, you pick out the model, you have the outside color option, which is like 5 colors. You have an interior option of 3. You have either S or regular. So you can do the sportier one or the regular one. And the other big option is self-driving, which is $10,000, by the way. And if you don't buy the self-driving, you can turn it on later, but you can buy it at the time. So you're clicking through to buy a car. It's what? 6-7 clicks, like, and you got a car. And then
amazingly easy.
Yeah, and you put in a credit card and there's a deposit. I forget how much the deposit is. Now, at the time that you spec out a Tesla on the website, and granted, you've never talked to anybody, you've never met anybody. It says, hey, now we're going to make it. We're getting it ready. Somebody's going to call you about financing because she leased, They say that it's going to take 90 days. And you said this was going to happen. In 45 days, they send you an email and go, your car's ready.
That's right.
So they tell you it's going to be 90, but it's ready in half the time. So they're like, your car's ready. Somebody's going to call and deliver. So then the finance person calls you and they basically just say, hey, good to go, whatever. You go on and you do a couple DocuSigns on the website. And then you go on a website and you schedule the delivery to your house. So they come to your house. You never go to them. Never. She test drove yours. She never test drove one at a dealership or whatever, right? So then the morning that they're going to deliver the car, which was a Saturday, they come with the car. They park it right in front of your house. It's clean, incredible. This young, good-looking, charming, really nice kid gets out of the car and he says, here you go. Congratulations. Can you open up the app? He transfers the car to you in the app and he says, do you have any questions? And we had, there were questions, right? And then, this is what he said. He goes, before I call my Uber, do you have any questions? I was like, where are you going to Uber to? He goes, they were somewhere in South LA. I don't know where their hub is, but he's going to Uber back there. And that was it. And she was in her car and done. Like, it was the easiest thing you could ever imagine. Now, let's go back and talk about my experience of going into the dealership. So I'd emailed, I'd gone back and forth, I'd made an appointment. I show up at the dealership and you walk in the showroom and then all of a sudden you get that feeling of like, what a really attractive girl in the summer, scantily dressed, might feel walking by a construction site.
Like that piece of Kobayashi beef.
Yeah, like you instantly get that feeling, right? So then you say the name of the salesperson that you're there for, and then they get that salesperson. That salesperson comes out, and then you sit down, and then they don't have the models there that they have on the website.
They've got a whole pile of cars with not the one you want.
Well, it's just interesting that on the website, they say they have them, but they're not. So if you wanted a specific color combination and you went there, those aren't available. Those don't exist.
Yeah. So
even though there's a VIN number, in fact, one of the ones that I was looking at, the color, because the nation of autos is so organized, they don't put actual pictures of the vehicles up. They're stock images.
Photos, yep.
So the stock image of the vehicle might be silver, but the description says that it's white or whatever. And so literally if you go and look a day later, the same car that you've saved the link for will have a different color and different options.
Impressive.
No, it's maddening. Why is that impressive? Because like if you're like me, like I have a specific color, like I wanted a specific thing and I thought I was going there to see the specific thing. No, those don't exist. And they literally, I don't know if they're doing it on purpose I don't know. I don't understand how you load up a car with a VIN number, say you have it, and you don't know the color. There's no pictures of it. Like it is a disaster.
Yeah.
Like it's false advertising in a sense, right?
Maybe the nation of autos is too big for its
So then you're like, well, can I just drive one? It doesn't matter what color it is, whatever. So you drive one, right? And during the test drive, I tell the sales guy, I go, hey, you guys got some, you have some pretty bad reviews. And he goes, oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's us.
Oh, yeah. Our service department sucks.
Great.
Basically, I mean, in so many words, like, yeah, good. He said, we have, the demand exceeds our ability or something in an attempt to be politically correct.
Makes me want to buy a car.
And then, I was like, well, how much do these break? And he goes, well, some do, some don't. He said, I had one and I never had any issue, but I have clients and, it's kind of like if you get a bad one, kind of a thing, that was the conversation. So we do the demo route, which is interesting. We get back to the dealership. Then you trying to pull it back into this postage stamp, like to park to do, like it's just funny, right? Like you can't even get in, and because there's so many cars on this lot, and it just looks like chaos. Like, and I imagine this is what it feels like for people pulling into service drives sometimes.
Yeah.
Like it just looks like chaos, and like nobody knows what they're doing, and it's just nuts. But that feeling is for the customer is like you just want to get out of there. You naturally want to get away from chaos and disorganization, right?
Yeah.
And so you park, you come back from the demo, and then still like I'm still concerned that the color combination that I want, and so now I'm looking at other color combinations. Because I've realized that this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yes.
Right. So now I'm going to have to figure out very quickly what are the colors and what would be okay. So then they have one on the showroom floor that is close to what I thought, but different, but cool. Like it had elements of it that were blacked out. It had black wheels. It was cool, and I could see myself doing a vinyl wrap on that one. So. I told the salesperson, I go, I want that one. So I said, here's the deal. I am going to write you a check for the vehicle. I understand that you're going to have to wait for the check to clear. So when it clears, I'll come pick it up. And I'm thinking, this is how stupid and naive I am. I'm thinking I'm going to be the easiest customer you've ever had because I'm going to write you a check. When it clears, let me know. I'll send somebody to pick it up. We're done. I'll sign, right?
Yeah.
Ends up, Christian, that's not how it goes.
Weird.
Yeah. So then he says, okay, well, do me a favor. Let's come sit at my desk. And I'm like, oh no. So then he goes away and he goes to the sales office.
To the tower.
And then what do you think happens when he comes back from the tower?
Well, I know because I got trained the
Because
same
I've already
way,
yelled
and
about
you
this.
already yelled about it. You got exposed to the four square.
So it's still the same sort of thing, right? He comes out with the Nation of Autos version of a digital Foursquare, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's hilarious to me that nothing has changed since I bought my first new car when I was like 20.
Yep.
So I bought a Nissan Pathfinder when I was a service advisor because I could put my drums in it and keep them out of the rain in Seattle. I remember my lease payment, I think, was like $299 or something.
Yeah, you can get those for a good
I put like
deal back then.
$1,000 down. I saved my money, and I bought a brand new Nissan Pathfinder when I was 20. So that is 30. Jesus, I'm old.
Yeah, it's a while ago.
It's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed in 30 years in the nation of autos.
Not a thing.
Nothing except for the red Sharpie on the Foursquare.
Right.
It's a digital.
They just took Foursquare and put it into an iPad.
So then the kid standing up, so I'm sitting, she's next to me, standing up, says, so not even sitting down, which is an interesting power exchange thing, right? Like I'm sitting there standing, And he says, the chip issue and the market and this and that. Meanwhile, I see financial statements every week. Maybe I see like, I don't know, half a dozen financial statements every week from clients across the US and Canada. We got 4 dealerships that wouldn't have made $500,000 in a year, making $500,000 a month right now because of their new car grosses.
Yeah.
So even though maybe I don't know what this chip thing is, because there are, like, I drove by a Honda dealership yesterday. They had no cars. So I know that there is an inventory issue, but that was not the issue here. There were more cars than could fit on the lot. Like they could use to sell a few cars so they had room to park other cars, but whatever. So he says to me, the market correction, the chip thing, the whatever, we're adding, this is how he words it, we're adding a parts credit to making it sound like I'm going to pay, and it's $15,000 on top of the price of the car that then is a parts credit. Now, I didn't get too far into understanding what the F that means, what a parts credit is, but I'm thinking, how could I possibly buy $15,000 worth of parts for this thing? Like, I had looked, even the dog package they have for the back, which is a ramp for your dog in like a cage.
It's $3,000
you can get
probably.
A Land Rover, whatever. Isn't like you couldn't? How would you possibly? But I don't think they mean that you're going to spend 15. Maybe they're going to give you 2,000 or so. I don't know. Whatever it is. So there's a market adjustment on the car. Now, I understand market adjustments. When I ran a dealership on the hot new models, we would have market adjustments. I get it. I get it. So, but I'm not going to pay it. Like, I'm just not. So that's okay. So I said, hey, that's cool. Like, you guys are doing that. I was under the impression that you weren't, because the prices were on the website, or I would not have wasted your time. That's what I said, because I'm not paying them the market adjustment. But it's their right to do it. If they want to do it, it's fine. Now I'm thinking like, okay, I'm going to bug Christian to help me get one of these, like from one of our clients. So he goes, well, hold on one second. Now, what do you think he does?
You got the turn.
I got the turn. So then we're sitting there or whatever. And by the way, one little thing about dealerships is, maybe I'm super picky. Am I super picky?
You have your moments, for sure.
The coffee thing.
Oh.
It blows me away, the things that people decide to save money on that make such a big impression.
They didn't have coffee there?
They had coffee, but
Hot?
They didn't have lids or the like, when you don't have the cover, people are going to double cup.
Yeah.
So you think you're saving money,
Costing more.
but when the whole thing ended, I had a cup of coffee with no lid, which was super weird to save money on lids. The coffee was okay. Just interesting what they decide to cut.
Yeah. I will tell you, I was in one of our client stores last week, and it was literally like a self-serve Starbucks. Cups, lids, sleeves, beautifully fresh coffee. I loved it. And not a Land Rover dealership.
You were a sales manager.
Well, I sold cars, but we didn't really have sales managers.
Oh, I was going to ask you what you did when you turned.
So we didn't turn. It was our thing from the start to the finish.
Well, there are still dealerships that do that. So what the turn means, you guys, is that now the manager's coming out. So now the manager comes out, and very, very interesting. Now the manager sits down in the salesperson's seat, which is an interesting dynamic psychologically, because the salesperson was standing. Mm-hmm. Now he sits down. So he comes out, sits down, and the salesperson isn't right there yet. He's dragging, right? Yep. That is kind of a technique, I'm assuming, to drag. This isn't something I've ever done in a dealership that I would run. I wouldn't do it that particular way. So the manager now sits in the salesperson's seat at his desk, and says, "How can I help you?"
Wow.
That's his petting the dog line. That's how he builds rapport. How can I help you? So I try to bring a little levity to the moment, and I said, "Well, we're here for couples advice. We need help. We can't get along."
Did he laugh? Because I think that's
He did not laugh.
That's funny.
Did not laugh.
Come on.
No, did not laugh. And so then it's just like a stare down. It was the most awkward, weird thing ever. And so then I just brought it up because I just wanted to get out of there at that point. I'm like, there's no way I'm doing business with these people. And so I said, "Hey, I'm not paying a market adjustment. We'll see what we can do. What if we do 12? I said, "Listen, I understand you have the right to do a market adjustment. If you can sell every one of these at 15,000 over, you do your thing. Like no harm, no foul, whatever." So I think then he comes back and he says he can do 10. I'm like, "No, I'm not doing it." Well, I leave. I'm not even on the freeway yet, and the salesperson calls me and says, "Well, I talked to my general sales manager, and he said, just for you, blah blah blah, we can do 8." I'm like, "Listen, kid, I forget the kid's name. I'm not doing 8. I'm not doing anything over. I'm just not." I go, "Maybe if it was 1,000, but no, I'm not." Like he's doing me a favor. It's so funny. Like they're doing me a favor. It's such a grind. So now I've spent, I don't know, I'm at this place a couple hours, right? I have nothing to show for it except for frustration. I hate them at that point. Like I literally hate them at that point. Like they've wasted my time. They don't have what they said they were going to have in stock. They don't. So they're bait and switching to begin with. Mm-hmm. They have no technique whatsoever or just respect for it's just still that thing, like that Henry Ford thing. Like you can have it in any color you want as long as it's black. Like they just don't care about your time or any of it. And I said at one point, no joke, I said, "You guys should look me up because I'm going to talk about this." The general manager sent me a blank email like a week later, like a template. It had nothing to do with, I think it's a her if I'm reading the name right. Yeah, that name it's not Pat. It can't go both ways. And I replied to her and I said, "I can't wait to talk about this on the show." Because I said, nothing has changed in 30 years. Like, it's just incredible to me. Incredible. Like, that's how it goes. And so then, I'm depressed. Like, I'm really depressed at that point. I don't know what to do. And so I go on the website for Tesla and I'm like, screw it, I'll just get a Y. I'll get the SUV. Yep. It's not what I want, but it's so much easier than dealing with all this. And then I go to do that, and guess what? They're sold out until November of 2022.
Because how many people just like you did the same thing?
And so I'm thinking, are they lying and saying it'd be done in 6 months?
Well, yeah, but I think it'd be done faster.
It's incredible. And then it doesn't get better from there. So then another person that I was talking to that, and I'm leaving out a lot of stuff here about the conversation with the manager and the whole thing, but the other Nation of Auto dealership in town, the salesperson there that I'd been talking to sends me, a text, and I said, "Well, I'm not paying over sticker," and then they say, "Well, we don't charge over sticker," and I'm like, "Well, your other store is," and they're like, "Well, we don't." And then when that salesperson's following up, I said, "They're not charging over sticker, but you told me they were," because he said they all were. Mm-hmm. So then I go there, and that's a whole nother story of frustration or whatever. So I ended up getting a vehicle, but let me tell you, in that situation, it is just incredible how dealerships are ran and how if people don't have to have a car, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
You have to do all the work as a consumer to, like, Like, let me give you an example. So I find a vehicle. They don't want me to write a check. They want me to wire the money. So I'm, okay. So we're gonna wire the money on Monday when the office opens, right? So the guy tells me in finance. I mean, it's just so crazy. You know what we used to do every end of year with our finance department? Like a thing that we did. It was like an event, like that we had. Like just like we have our Top Dog event or whatever. We used to do cash conversions with the finance department. Our games were about cash conversions. We role-played cash conversions. We talked about we tracked cash conversions. So if the desk had somebody that was a cash deal go into finance and they converted it, we they won something in the game, the whole thing, because at the end of the year, especially if you're running a BMW store, the X5s, just like the Land Rovers, are over 6,000 pounds. You can write them off 100%. So like for us as a business, it's better for me to buy the Land Rover and write it off and save on the taxes at the end of the year than it is to lease it, because it goes against our taxes. So people come in at the end of the year and they're like, I want an X5, I'll write a check. And then we had these things that were balloons for businesses that, BMW Financial Services offered, that was the same thing for them tax-wise, but it was like what do you call that? An close-ended lease, where they had to buy it at the end.
Yep.
Instead of the factory buy it, but they could save their cash. So you get a guy who's a lawyer or a doctor or owns a business, and you're like, listen, keep your cash. You can still depreciate and get your deduction, but these close-ended or open-ended, I forget which one it is.
I think open-end's one where there's a variable. Closed-end means that here's what it happens when it's done and it's over.
Okay, so the open-end means they can finance it or buy it,
yes,
but they have a balloon at the end.
Yeah.
And we would convert, quite a few people that were planning on writing a check to that in finance. That isn't what happens in finance. What happens in finance is the guy is trying to sell me a bunch of stuff I don't need, right? On a menu of a bunch of stuff that I don't. So when I sit down, he says, how long are you going to keep it? I said, 2 years. Like, that's my plan, is to keep it for 2 years. So I don't need an extended warranty. I don't need these things. And so the only reason I would buy them is for him to make a commission. Like, that's it. If you're in that situation, instead of trying to sell me things I don't need, and the guy even made some comments about I'm not making any money, and it's interesting. Like, it's also interesting that people don't look me up. Like, people at that dealership knew who I was, but it's interesting to me that they say the things they say. Like, it's nuts. But why wouldn't you try to do a cash conversion in that situation? So anyways, I got to wire the money on Monday, right? So I've signed all the paperwork, but he won't give me the paperwork. But then he says this thing, he goes, you can't take the vehicle until you show me proof of insurance. And I said, I sent you my insurance. And he says, no, the VIN has to be on the insurance. And I said, that's not true.
You have 30 days.
I have 30 days. Second of all, because we were buying it under the business, I have more insurance under the business than I do on the car insurance. And so, but I don't know, because he said that, and am I, what is that thing on your sweater? A sloth? I'm like, well, I gotta whatever. So the insurance guy's waiting for them to send the paperwork. So we wire the money Monday. It clears Monday. I want to pick it up on Wednesday. So on Tuesday, I'm like, can I get the paperwork? Can somebody just email me whatever they need, the VIN, what's on there, accessories, whatever, the models, all that stuff. They need that to add it to the insurance. Can I get that? And I guess because it's a cash deal, nobody in finance would even, nothing. So I text the salesperson, I'm like, hey, I got to come pick this thing up. And if they can't give me the stuff, somebody better not tell me that I can't take it. Like, right? Like,
yeah.
whatever. So then I get that. I mean, and that's a whole nother thing, but no, you know, I have an appointment to pick it up and the salesperson isn't even there.
Yeah.
I call them on their phone and they're somewhere else, and then they say, have a seat, somebody will help you. There's nobody there to help me. So the one guy knew who was the like manager. I'm like, hey, can I just get the keys in the books? I'll figure it out on my own. Like, that's it. Like, I don't want to sit here for 4 hours. Like, I don't understand. I had an appointment. Like,
yeah,
it really does make me want. It's so frustrating that's the customer. Like, when we think like, why do dealerships lose 80% of their customers to independents? You know, we don't want to talk about it. That's the problem. We don't want to talk about it. So I'm watching. Well, I'm not watching. Let me rephrase that. I come home and somebody is watching the new Tiger King. So I don't know if you know during the pandemic, but there was a show called Tiger King on Netflix.
Heard of it, never watched it.
Yeah. So me neither, but I have. I've seen previews and I've heard it referenced, but I don't know much about it beyond the guy had tigers and he went to jail. That's kind of what I knew. And so there's a new season of it, and I'm home and there's people in the kitchen living room area watching the new season, kind of towards the end of the season, and it ends up, I guess, that the reason why that guy was in jail was because this lady and PETA. Do you know what PETA is?
Yeah,
they're an organization that animal protection. They were chasing these guys that have these zoos because the animals aren't taken care of. They don't, like, some of these tigers live their whole life in a 2x2 cage. They've never ran. They never, because it gets so big, you can't just let them run around. But if you don't have a fenced area that they can't jump over the fence, like, you need to have a lot of space and certain things in place, and they're expensive or whatever. A lot of these tigers live in cages. They get sores. The flies are like laying eggs in their skin, and that's horrible. And so this lady and PETA and different organizations go around to protect the animals, right? And I was just thinking about that in reference to our industry. Is we just seem like, as an industry, that we're okay just kind of waiting it out to see what happens. There is no leadership at NADA, at any of the manufacturers. There's no leadership anywhere where somebody who's charismatic, who cares about our industry, stands up and says, hey, we're gonna change things. And we're gonna have, we're gonna point out the dealers that don't care, that aren't good operators. Because I'm just tell you right now, if Land Rover wants to give us a dealership in Los Angeles, not only will we very quickly be the #1 selling dealership probably in the world, we will have a service department running 24 hours a day, and we will have 4.5 to 5 stars reviews on Google, and it will represent what that brand could be. Like, it wouldn't even take us 6 months to do that. But there's no technicians in these dealerships. Service is an afterthought, and sales is more like a fighting with somebody who's your enemy than a friend. Like, it's adversarial at every point, but we're forgetting the fact that consumers have a vote, and that there is going to become a time when we don't have the leverage in the marketplace, and they have other options, i.e. Tesla, these other brands. And, everybody's going to be standing around going, wow, let's talk about the old days and all the talent we used to have, and what a great industry it was, and, how much money we made, and this and that. But right now, as we sit, we could still save it, and nobody wants to save it. The manufacturers don't want to save it. The dealer body doesn't want to save it. And nobody wants to talk about it. We're all naive to the idea, and I guess we think that the nation of auto and Lithia are going to buy up everything, and then that will be it. Like, the dealers get their big payday and go away. But doesn't anybody care about just the image of our industry? Just the fact that our mothers and our sisters and our cousins buy cars and have to go through this frustration, like just go on and read some of the reviews. Like people are at their wits' end. It is so adversarial. There's no way unless we completely like we need a PETA or something to come in and say like, no, you can't treat people like this. I don't know. It's it's depressing to me because I grew up in this industry and nobody cares. Everybody just is like complacent to the idea that, oh, well, something will happen. And I think the fact that the new car grosses and the used car grosses are so high right now because of COVID is creating this secondary, the secondary naivety. Is that how you would say it?
Well, it's definitely...
the supply and demand is creating a false sense of security.
Yes, it's not happening. The profits aren't happening because we're doing better.
But just think like, if people were paying $15,000 over sticker because of supply and demand, wouldn't we then expect that we would invest some of that money in making it easy for them when the car breaks or needs service? Like, wouldn't we invest something in the relationship after the fact? Like, we need to think about the automotive industry more like we're selling printers and we make our money on the ink cartridge, not that it's a one-time thing. Like, we're in a tourist town and they buy a burger and we're never going to see them again.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, we're a hamburger stand off the side of the road in a tourist town that gets busy in the summer and we're closed the other 6 months. Like, and they got to buy the hamburger because they're hungry and they're there and they got kids, but it's not because they like us.
Yeah, we're just the necessary evil.
Why doesn't anybody want to talk about it?
I'm not sure.
You got really, really quiet.
You're on a rant a little bit.
I'm curious about your thoughts.
Well, I think that it's really easy for you to go and have these experiences back to back that you do. I feel like I've been places and I've seen genuine concern for the clients. Unfortunately, it's the minority, not the majority of the industry. But I think that you coming off of those two things...
I'm not saying that there aren't good dealerships out there.
Well, I do think that those people are advocating...
But I would say as an industry, is there any leadership at all that's talking about how we need to stop being adversarial, we need to have some standards, and we need to change the way we think and we approach customers?
Well, I think I agree with you. It has to come from a really, really high level. And I think that maybe that's the thing that happens in 2022 is that there's someone that's going to come and say that in order for us to save the industry, it's got to be about the customer. I believe that could be a case because I think that as the supply and demand starts to level off, we're going to realize that there are just some people that did it so wrong that we're going to lose a ton of customers. And if we're going to get them back, we got to be proactive. I don't think we're the only ones having this conversation. I just don't think it's being said in the right arenas. I think we need to talk louder.
I think that in the sense that I have friends with very expensive, fast cars. Like McLarens, Ferraris, Lambos. They go very, very fast. That would be considered the fastest cars on the road. And that Tesla
is fast.
Makes them look like a Ford Pinto.
Yeah.
And that shift in power in the industry is only perceived by the consumer, but everybody inside of the industry seems to think of it as something either they don't understand or something they're scared to face, but they don't understand that it's shifting. And it's already kind of shifted that, I don't believe it's too late, but I do believe 2 years from now it's going to be too late.
Yeah, I think that action now is needed, but the scary thing that you're talking about, especially with Tesla, is so now we've kind of pointed out, one, that it's easy to buy, and two, that in some cases you can make a case it's a superior product. Like, that's going to be really tough to compete with. It's not just that it's a good product. It's that it's freaking easy to buy a car.
But we're letting Tesla make it easier to buy because it's not like we can't do that.
I think we can learn from them for sure.
Like I posed this question, I think, on a panel with Ben Stark or whatever that I was on, and or we were talking about, would you rather have Amazon's AI selling your cars or your salespeople?
I'm all Amazon AI.
Yeah, and most people are too, even though they're like, well, I hope my sales manager doesn't listen to this. But Tesla is kind of already proving that you don't even need that, right? And so we could do that. We could make the experience not be this this adversarial situation, right? We also could fix the service part, and we could make service a priority. We could make the relationship with the consumer a priority. We could do all the things that Tesla is doing better, except for maybe we can't get an electric car to go, or a car to go 0 to 60 in 1.8 seconds. But that should be an anomaly. That shouldn't be the 10th thing on the stack of disadvantages that we have.
Right.
Like Tesla could have their advantages, but why are we handing them all of the advantages?
Yeah.
Why aren't we making service in the customer experience something that they perceive, right? Like that's the thing when people are debating the idea of the repair authorization, is the thing that's missed there more than anything is not that, it's saving the tech time. It's not that you're telling the truth. It's not all those other things. It's that at the end of the day, the customer came there to get a problem fixed. And when you do that and there's less calls and less amounts going up, right? Like, okay, well, we started with diagnosis and they don't know what that means. And then now you need this and now you need this or whatever. Their perception is that it was easy because there were less back and forth. We made it easy. Why aren't we spending a lot of time and a lot of effort as an industry on how to make things easier for consumers and taking our advantage back? Why are we giving the advantage away? I do not for the life of me understand, because Tesla in a lot of ways isn't doing things that we couldn't do as an industry. They're not. It's just because we are stuck in our ways and we're stubborn and we don't want to talk about it, we don't want to think about it, and in a lot of ways we're entitled. Like we're those rich entitled kids that we just think like, oh, it'll be okay forever, and because we have money, we deserve it. But the truth of the matter is that mindset is going to be our downfall. That entitlement and that, I said it in my State of the Union, is we used to be an industry that was like we were on the cutting edge of industry, of design.
Yeah, other industries look to us to say, okay, what can we learn from them and do it in our thing? You're right, that is.
And so I've been driving that Land Rover for a day. I got it yesterday. I've been driving it for a day. Like the technology in that thing's pretty cool. There's a lot of thoughtful things going on in the design. The Wi-Fi, the integration, like the ride, the fit and finish. Like it's a high-end luxury vehicle that is fun, but it is clouded by the experience trying to buy it. It is going to be clouded by going in and taking it in for service, because it's going to be a flipping nightmare, because those service departments, probably the ones here, they probably need 30 techs, and I bet they have 5. I mean, and the 5 that they have hate their jobs, and they got 2 service advisors that are making the appointments, trying to call everybody back, dealing with parts. Like, we aren't making it a priority because we're more worried about head count than we are the customer experience and where we are in the industry. And these companies like Tesla and Lucid come in and they're willing to lose money for a long time to gain market share, and they're doing it. Bezos and Amazon invested a lot of money, and didn't Car and Driver just name that truck the Lucid, or it's not Lucid, Rivian? Didn't they name it Truck of the Year? I
think so.
Like, what a fix that is. Like, how can that be Truck of the Year when they're not even on sale yet? That's marketing and controlling a narrative like I have never seen, that the truck of the year is something that isn't readily available. I mean, aren't they only making like a couple thousand of those at first
I think
for
it's
consumers?
really limited. Yeah. It's pretty interesting.
Explain to me how that's possible.
The fix is in.
Not the Ford electric. It's the one that nobody can get that's truck of the year. I mean, just think about the genius and evil. Like, we're just pawns in a game.
Yeah.
Right?
That's funny, isn't it?
So would you, I mean, I guess that my synopsis is you think I'm ranting, but would you agree that we are handing Tesla and these companies an advantage that they don't have to have?
Yes.
They could have advantages, but the advantage when it comes to the infrastructure, the buying of it, the servicing of it, they don't have to have that advantage.
I agree with that.
We're giving it to them.
Yes.
And nobody's talking about it.
Yeah. We're fighting.
Have you been in any dealerships in the last year where somebody wants to talk about this?
No.
Because when I bring it up, it's like, you know, I don't know, what would be the most disruptive thing to bring up in church?
Pedophilia.
Yeah, it's like that. That's what it feels like. Did you like my analogy of walking by the construction site?
It was great.
That's what it feels like, though, right?
I'm still laughing about the fact that when the manager sat down and said, "How can I help you?" And you said marital advice, and there was no response. Great joke.
It is so archaic.
We can do better.
Yeah. It's just crazy. So I guess I am also telling you what I think the future of next year needs to be. We as a company next year are very focused on two things really at the beginning of the year. One is we're redoing our Service Manager University. So the videos that service managers do when they come on our platform to go to their boot camp, or just if they come and they're just buying the online and they want to learn how to run a service department, or they want some new ideas to inspire them in running their service department, those videos are probably 10 years old. We're redoing the content, we're redoing the flow. We're trying to make before we created the content as a product as a whole, now we're trying to create it as a timeline that you would do it in pieces.
Yeah, it's going to be super digestible is the word I keep thinking of. I'm excited about this.
And then we also are working on our leadership stuff. So there's a leadership book and then leadership content. But the first part of our leadership content is going to be for all employees in the dealership in a new orientation. And we're trying to figure out an entertaining way, understanding that we're not trying to do just the talking head in our training, but we're trying to, also make it entertaining and make it relate to whoever is watching it. And we know that there's a gap in the marketplace with our training for these younger kids that are, 20 to 27 that come into entry-level positions like BDC, cashier, tech, salespeople also, that they're less loyal to the business, more entitled, and harder to capture their loyalty and imagination. And so we are working really hard at creating a path for them to understand, how to succeed. And it's more personal development, we believe, in the beginning than it is vocational. We have to meet them where they're at and then help them grow from there. But that's something we're working, really, really hard at. We have, I believe, the best team we've ever had to attack this sort of challenge, but it's not going to be easy. But that's the first part of next year on top of everything else that's going on for us. Did I miss anything there?
Not that I can think of, but the renaissance of the training is going to be next level. I love the thought of the leadership for everybody because I think that we all need it. And I think that in the past, we focused on little segments of, manager, we focused on advisor. I love where the last couple of years we've done things like BDC and then also incorporating business office, technicians. But this whole thing about the leadership for everybody, I think is next level in terms of what our on-demand platform can be.
Yeah, we have a personal kind of manifesto inside of our company that speaks to the idea and starts off with that when you go to an art gallery and you look at a specific piece of art, that piece of art might move you. You might be touched by it. But when you leave the art gallery, it's now part of your imagination and a memory, but it doesn't leave with you. There's nothing that really leaves with you. And that's how most training is also, is like, you do training and maybe 5% of it sticks in the end, but you're throwing so many things at the person intaking the training that a lot of times we're trying to impress them with everything we know and all these ideas, but we're not actually impacting them in a way that raises their self-esteem and then raises their results. And a lot of what training should be is to raise their self-esteem and their results. So in our manifesto, it says, like, in reference to the art not leaving with them, our training will be exactly the opposite. It'll be something that empowers them, that weaponizes them. And then at the end of our manifesto, it says, we've all seen a manager take our training and become more successful as a leader and a manager, but also become a better father, a better citizen. And we do believe as a team, at the heart of it, that we have the ability to make the world a better place through empowering people to succeed. Because if they're doing better in their job, then they're going to feel better, they're going to have higher self-esteem, and they also will be more likely to want to contribute back to society in a positive way. Because let's face it, when you feel like you're losing all the time, and you feel like the world's against you, and you don't know where to go, and you don't have a path, you don't think about giving back and making the world a better place, because you're basically in fight or flight. You're just trying to survive. And so that's kind of the changes that we have, and we're trying to figure that out. We're trying to navigate that, and our training keeps getting better and better, but there's going to be another jump here in what we're doing that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I think it's never been done before in our arena. So yeah, it's going to be cool. So
thank you guys so much for listening to me rant. I don't think that this one will get the comments or the views as the repair authorization one, but we do need to figure out how to step up and use the advantages we have, not give them away. And we're giving them away too easily. Like we're just doing it. We need to take a hard look at that. So from our family to yours, we hope you have a great holiday season. We hope you eat too much, that Santa brings you what you want. And we will see you the beginning of next year on Service Drive
Revolution.
Good one.
Thanks.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of Service Drive Revolution. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.